Wow, was this a busy week? Welcome to EVTN News. I have I have some really crazy stories. Things are getting crazy. The demons are really going crazy. Um, I haven't seen a week like this since I was thinking about this 2018 maybe, but no, maybe since the shutdowns of 2020 when the bishops locked us out of churches and yeah, they took away, they banned us from Mass and locked us out of churches. It wasn't that long ago. You remember that? It really wasn't that long ago. And how quickly people forget. And they'll do it again. Maybe not for the same reason, but I'll talk about that at the end. We'll get to the big stories at the end. Let's start out on a positive note though. And this is a trigger stuff. Hey, my video last week, I must have used a forbidden word because it got limited monetization. Hasn't happened for a while, so I don't know. Maybe it's just targeted because it's Catholic stuff. I don't know, but we'll see what trigger words are. We'll see what happens. We'll see if I use any trigger words. I certainly have plenty of them. SSPX Bishop Alfonso de Galarreta ordained a Russian deacon and a Ukrainian priest on June 24th in the Sacred Heart Seminary of Zeitskofen. So this is a unity between between people of conflicting nations. They got ordained at the same Mass. The Russian was ordained for the Roman Rite, while the Ukrainian priest belongs to the Greek Byzantine Catholic fraternity of St. Josaphat. De Galarreta said that only the universality of the Catholic faith has the power to create unity and peace. And this is real unity, not the fake unity of the Francis Church saying, well, you need to be in union with us because we're heretics and you're not. And no, this is real unity. And there's lots of heretics, and we cannot be in union with heretics. And you'll see why I'm so fired up, and maybe reading more of these stories gets me even more fired up. Bishop Zarema of Raleigh, North Carolina, became the latest bishop to eliminate a thriving Latin Mass community, sending its priests on an unrequested sabbatical. Pay close attention. If you have a diocesan Latin Mass, maybe this will happen to priests near you. Then you'll need to contact the SSPX. Lacking the courage to abolish the traditional Mass forthrightly, well, I wouldn't say courage, but I would say guts. Because it's not courageous to cancel the Latin Mass. It's courageous to stand against the enemies of the Catholic faith who want to ban the Latin Mass. Anyway, lacking the I don't know what you'd say. He didn't want to abolish the Latin Mass forthrightly. He instead enjoyed a backdoor strategy to stamp it out with a soft cancellation of the clergy. Bishop Zarema shut down the Raleigh Diocese's largest Latin Mass Novus Ordo hybrid parish by sending the pastor and the diocesan Latin Mass delegate to nowhere for a year. Yes, that's true. He announced this not by visiting or speaking to any parishioners, but by sending a cold memo explaining how the priests were leaving for sabbatical. So he forced them into sabbatical. This move would eliminate any possibility for a traditional Mass for several reasons. One, the priests were two of only 3 diocesan priests even allowed to offer it in the Raleigh area. The new pastor, Father Nick Cottrill, could not use one of his hands, making several aspects of the Latin Mass virtually impossible. He doesn't know how to offer the Latin Mass. Even if he wanted to learn, the bishop has forbidden any other priest to do so. This could be happening to you, your diocesan Latin Mass, if you have one. We're going to see continued assaults against the Catholic faith coming up. Very much so. I'm certain. I'm absolutely certain. Unless Francis does not survive. But even then, I don't know. We'll see how difficult it becomes. All right. Kissy Fernandez, the Argentine Archbishop. Not for long. We'll see. Stay tuned. Who will take up the post of the prefect of the Dicastery of the Doctrine of Faith? They changed the name. It used to be the CDF. Now it's the DDF. Who cares? Because it doesn't have anything to do with doctrine anymore. He will take the post in mid-September. He was asked if he agreed with the Dicastery's 2021 declaration against LMNOP blessings. He replied, look, okay, so here's the whole quote. It's, I'll just give you the whole context. He said, look, just as I am firmly against abortion, I challenge you to find someone in Latin America who has written more articles than me against abortion. I also understand that marriage, in the strict sense, is only one thing, the stable union of two beings as different as male and female are, who in that difference are capable of engendering new life. There is nothing that can be compared to, and to use that name to express something else is neither good nor correct. At the same time, I believe we must avoid gestures or actions that could express something different, namely LMNOP marriage. This is why I think that the greatest care must be taken to avoid rites or blessings that could feed this confusion. Okay, so far so good. Now, if a blessing is given in such a way that it does not cause confusion, it will have to be analyzed and confirmed. As you will see, there is a point at which we leave a properly theological discussion and move on to a question that is rather prudential or disciplinary. So this is a guy who is supposed to be in charge of doctrine, and he says we must deviate from theology in terms of marriage. Wow. What a profound statement. It doesn't have anything to do in support of the Catholic faith. In fact, it is in opposition to the Catholic faith. And this is really borderline heresy. All right, Pope Francis, he was busy this week, very busy. One of the first big news items is he met a U.S. delegation with former U.S. President Bill Clinton. Now, what is Bill Clinton doing at the White House? He doesn't believe in the Catholic faith. He doesn't remotely support the Catholic faith. The private audience was unannounced until a video was released by the Vatican press office. Francis can be heard saying, "What have you all been doing here in Rome these days?" Among the guests was Alex Soros, the son of George Soros. What a shock. Are you really surprised? The Clintons. Alex Soros. What are they doing meeting with Pope Francis? How much money did he get from these guys? All right, so a few weeks ago I strongly criticized the Knights of Columbus in North Dakota and the Canadian province of Manitoba, but they've canceled a mass that had been scheduled to be held at a Masonic lodge. So, okay, I stand, corrected. They canceled it. So everything I said is kind of pointless at this point, I guess. It's meaningless at this point because they canceled the mass. I criticized the Archbishop for not canceling it, and he canceled it. So there you go. Do something Catholic. The annual Mass of Solidarity and Friendship was held, held at the International Peace Garden was scheduled this year for the Masonic Auditorium on the grounds of the park. But again, they canceled it. Whoever scheduled it in the first place, fire them or remove them or whatever. But They did what they needed to do, and that's good. So there you go. Good. I always like to, especially whenever there's stories about upcoming events and it gets canceled for a good reason, right? I'm happy to share that information. Back to Kissy Fernandez. Cardinal Mueller has confirmed the CDF had a file of concerns about Archbishop Fernandez, who is now the head of the department. This was in 2009 when Buenos Aires Cardinal Bergoglio appointed Father Fernandez rector of the so-called Catholic University of Argentina. Only in 2011 did Cardinal Lavada, then head of the CDF, confirm the appointment. Fernandez told the National Catholic Register that the accusations were not of great weight and were resolved after an exchange of letters. The main allegation at the time concerned Fernandez's LMNOP activities. Mueller said that Fernandez had sent a letter promising to do better, which Mueller said was a common tactic in such situations to dispel doubts. So he was investigated by the CDF, and now he's the head of the department. Pretty bad. Okay, so let's see here. Big news. The Synod. The Synodal Synod on Citadality. How many times can you say Synod? So let's start at the basics. So someone asks me recently, what is the Synod on Synodality? And I said, well, no one really knows. See, if previously they held, they were fake synods because they had predetermined outcomes, but they had actual, like, people thought they had purposes. Like, you could kind of guess what was supposed to be the purpose, like, well, at least what they wanted you to think was the purpose. So the Synod on the family, the Synod, did they have a Synod on marriage? I don't know. But did they have a Synod on the environment? I'm not quite sure about that. But synods generally have a purpose. This Synod on Synodality, what is synodality? It's basically a buzzword for the modernists to justify LMNOP activities and all kinds of heretical ideas. But synodality, people don't actually know what it is. A list of participants for the October meeting. This October meeting will be the first of 2 October meetings, so there will be one this year and one next year, unless there's a new pope, and then hopefully he'll cancel it. The list of participants for the October meeting of the Synod on Synodality has been released. A differentiation can be observed between the delegates chosen by their own local churches or bishops' conferences to participate in the Synod, and those personally picked by Pope Francis. So I'm going to go through this. There will be 364 bishops, priests, religious, and lay people. It's the first time lay people will vote at the upcoming Synod on Synodality, but again, their vote means nothing. But by stacking the deck against the Catholic faith, then it will look like they actually voted in favor of heretical practices. It might look like a consensus in the church. I think that's what the Francis Church wants to give the illusion of. Okay, so there were there were bishops handpicked by Pope Francis, and there were bishops voted on by their Episcopal Conference, like the USCCB. So the at-large pick from North America is Father James Martin. So 14 bishops from the United States will participate. I think a few of them got automatically selected because of their positions in Rome. Now, the USCCB selected Archbishop Timothy Broglio, who is the USCCB president, Bishop Daniel Flores, who is a synodal star, and I mentioned him. He was heavily involved with the Continental Synod and all this garbage. If you have a shred of honesty in you or a shred of Catholicism, you would outright reject these heresies that are being promoted. Bishop Robert Barron, Bishop Kevin Rhodes of Fort Worth South Bend, and Cardinal Dolan of New York. So these ones are, aside from Flores, they're kind of conservative, at least amongst probably the naive USCCB members. They probably believe those are conservatives. Cardinal Dolan is basically a do-nothing who there's insane heresies running rampant in his diocese. I mean, come on. Father James Martin is in the Archdiocese of New York. There's a priest, Father Brian Massingale. He's openly LMNOP. And he should be removed, but Cardinal Dolan won't do anything about it. In fact, the Paulist Fathers Church, where they said God is trans, he said, oh, you really shouldn't have that display up. And guess what they did? They removed the sign. They didn't take the display down, they just removed the sign. So Cardinal Dolan does nothing. Bishop Barron, well, we'll give him a chance. See what he says. I mean, is he going to be an active participant? Is he going to actively participate in heresy? It's going to be it's going to be a real test for him. Okay. Another set of U.S. bishops were selected by Pope Francis. Cardinal Cupich, McElroy, Wilton Gregory, and then Cardinal Tobin and Cardinal Farrell were automatically included due to papal appointments to different dicasteries. Those were handpicked by Pope Francis, and he chose the most heretical. Now, Stowe actually was not chosen, but if you're paying attention to this channel and you watched my predictions for Archbishop, I talked about Archbishop Paul Etienne of Seattle. He's a rising star in the Francis Church, and Francis handpicked him. If you're handpicked by Francis, you know there's some kind of doctrinal problem with them. At this point, that's absolutely that's absolutely certain. There's some kind of they're either compromised, because before he picked the ones who were completely compromised. Maybe they were molesters, or maybe they covered up for molesters, or they had some kind of dirt on them, and he would handpick them. But now you just have to be a heretic. All right, James Martin. He handpicked James Martin, SJ. So that's pretty terrible. Now I'm going to go through the list. Pope Francis' personal. Oh, what's this? Okay, this is really interesting here. So, Bishop Stephen Chow S.J. of Hong Kong, who's a fan, he's not a Chinese communist bishop. I was a little bit, what should I say? I was overly anxious to label him as that. He was named a bishop by the Vatican, not the Chinese Communist Party. There's a little bit of a difference, although what is the difference at this point? There's a small difference, though, but he is a fan of the Vatican-China deal. He was picked. More on him in a little bit. Archbishop Timothy Costello, and he's the uh, Archbishop of Perth, Australia. He had been a key Synod on Synodality member, and he shocked Australian Catholics when he oversaw an indigenous pagan ritual at the beginning of the Fifth Australian Plenary Council's opening Mass. Cardinal Joseph de Kessel, Archbishop Emeritus of Mechelen, Brussels, I believe, is he Belgium? I think it's Belgium, yes. Who signed and approved the notorious document by his fellow Belgian bishops promulgating blessings for LMNOP couples. At their subsequent ad limina visit with Francis some months later, de Kessel said the meeting was invariably warm and that the Belgians had not been admonished for their heresy. Cardinal Mueller was selected. That was interesting. We'll see what he has to say about that. Cardinal Jean-Claude Hollerich, SJ, is of course there. I think in one quote I handpicked like 4 heresies out of it, just right off the top of my head, that he had spoken. Bishop Stefan Oster, a German bishop who had been one of the few dissenting voices at various stages of the synodal way in Germany. So that's interesting. Cardinal Oscar Andres Rodriguez Maradiaga, former president of Pope Francis' C9. He was encircled by scandal for many years, including financial and sexual cover-up allegations. Okay. And I'm just browsing through LifeSite. Among the special invitees, Dominican Father Timothy Radcliffe, a pro-LMNOP priest from England. He's listed as one of 2 spiritual assistants. He was personally invited by the Pope to lead a pre-synodal retreat for the bishops. His long history of LMNOP advocacy it may have gotten him preferential treatment. Austin Ivory, papal biographer and promoter of heresy on Twitter. And is there anyone else? Okay, so that's that for LifeSite's article, and you can read a little bit more on that. However, Cardinal O'Malley will also be there. Archbishop William Skurla of the Archeparchy of Pittsburgh, the Ruthenian Byzantine Archeparchy of Pittsburgh. He's a metropolitan of all Ruthenian Catholics in the USA and Canada. He will participate in the synod, unfortunately. And it's interesting because that's Eastern Catholic, and this is specifically towards the Roman Rite. Cardinal Ouellette will be there. And controversial choice. Okay, so I thought there were. I thought there was more details on this, so I will actually have to go to a different website potentially. But okay. Hold on one second. Where did this go? Okay, there is Julia Oseka, a Polish national undergraduate student at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia. She's a physics major with a theology and religious studies minor. She describes herself as an active feminist in the church. Okay, that's terrible. Wyatt Olivas is an undergraduate at the University of Wyoming and a member of the Diocese of Cheyenne, where he served as catechist and music minister. University. All right, I'm back. Are you still there? All right. This guy, he's a member of the Diocese of Cheyenne, Wyoming. Bishop Beegler is the bishop there, and he's a very big supporter of LMNOP. Oh, here it is. Okay. There is a woman, Cynthia Bailey Mans, an African American who serves as the director of adult education at St. Joan of Arc Catholic Community in Minneapolis. You know they're hyper liberal. A parish that has run into problems before due to its illicit liturgies and controversial pre-mass lay sermons from the pulpit, including one instance in which an LMNOP couple talked about their partnership and having a child through IVF and surrogacy. Sister Leticia Salazar, Chancellor in the Diocese of San Bernardino in California. I think there's an LMNOP bishop in San Bernardino. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to take a look at who the bishop is. So these people are in charge of the Synod. Now, okay, you got Martin and all these rotten, just blatant LMNOP supporters. So there's a two parts of the Synod this October and next October. I personally believe Francis he's really swinging for the fences here. He's named the biggest heretics he could find. These people are only in the church because Francis enables them. That's the only reason. A Catholic pope would have excommunicated many of them long ago. Most of them are functional atheists, pagans. They worship LMNOP, and we're going to be in trouble. We talk about Latin masses being canceled. What's going to happen to the church? So, bare minimum, I expect married priests to come out of this October Synod. Next year, if it gets to that, hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, then we'll probably, and even this year, there could be LMNOP blessings. There could be an erosion of, well, I don't know. Women deacons is obviously, women priests is a goal. Women deacons is what they want to try, but they'll probably move closer towards that, so they'll probably let women preach at Mass, like give the homily. They'll probably try things like that. Yeah, I don't know. Lay people, they might let lay people officiate weddings. They may do what the Germans did and allow lay women to baptize in an actual baptism ceremony, because anyone can baptize. Not even a baptized person, an unbaptized person can baptize. So I think it's also entirely possible. So if there's a woman, like a woman deacon at a mass, that would mean the mass is illicit. And a lot of people, basically most people agree that sedevacantist masses are illicit, Orthodox liturgies are illicit. But what's the difference between a Novus Ordo with a woman deacon and an Orthodox liturgy? The Orthodox liturgy is better. It's and if a bishop authorizes it, that doesn't mean anything. If a pope authorizes heresy, that doesn't mean anything. So we're getting to that point where we can start discussing this stuff. What if? Because it's coming to it. It really is. It's really bad. And we need bishops to speak out against this heresy. All these heresies with an S, because it's not just one. But if you have altar girls, if you have women handing out communion, if you have women lectors, what is it all leading towards? And just another step, women preaching at Mass. How's that any different? How does that make that any worse? It just takes it further and further down the line. I don't mean how does it make it any worse, but it takes it further and further down the line, and people, they start tolerating this stuff. Oh, okay, it's different, but whatever. And before you know it, you have women deacons. You can't stand for that. And then, yesterday, Pope Francis announced the creation of new cardinals. 21 new cardinals. Kissy Fernandez. He was just promoted, and there we go. Becomes a cardinal immediately. Now, a bunch of guys from, well, not a bunch, but some of the guys leading the dicasteries in the Vatican were named cardinals. Archbishop Christophe Pierre, the nuncio to the United States, will be named a cardinal. And those were everyone I recognized on the list except the guy I talked about earlier. Where is he? Bishop Stephen Chow, S.J. of the Diocese of Hong Kong, will now be a cardinal. But he will not be another Cardinal Zen. No, he will not. Far from it. He has gone on record as looking forward to the day when the Catholic Church might ordain women to the diaconate or the priesthood. So he's a heretic. We have that in writing. We have him on record as being a heretic. But Chow has also heavily promoted the cause close to Pope Francis' heart, namely the secretive Vatican-China deal. He has defended the deal. He downplayed concerns about the deal, and he is a strong supporter of the Chinese Patriotic Church. We may see the first formal communist pope. He's my outside chance at pope now. If Francis survives long enough for this guy to be named cardinal, watch out. China has money. And they could bribe all these guys from the peripheries, all these cardinals from the peripheries, no matter how well-intentioned they are, or they see a bribe in front of their faces. Their dioceses are small, probably poor. What does a small bribe look like to them? I don't know. Can they withstand it? Can they withstand the corruption? How did Bergoglio get elected pope? Are these cardinals that compromised? Were the cardinals that compromised? Or did they get bribed? I mean, you wonder. You really wonder. Of course, Kissy was there. Okay, so here's a quote. In 2015, Kissy Fernandez stated, "The Pope goes slow because he wants to be sure that the changes have a deep impact. The slow pace is necessary to ensure the effectiveness of the changes. You have to realize that he is aiming at reform that is irreversible. If one day he should sense he's running out of time and doesn't have enough time to do what the spirit, well, it is a spirit, but the spirit is asking him, you can be sure he will speed up." Yeah, that's what's happening now. In the spirit, you refer to the spirit, not the Holy Spirit, but the spirit. I'm sure it's a spirit. There was one more bishop here. Okay. Bishop. Okay, I'm back. My video keeps cutting out, so I'm gonna try to get this. I'm gonna try to finish this up. Bishop Americo Manuel Alves Aguilar of, I believe it's Lisbon, Portugal. The Auxiliary Bishop of Lisbon. 49. Whoa. Okay, so the 49-year-old prelate, he's only 49, he's named a cardinal. He previously served as a council member of his local Socialist Party between 1994 and 1997, which socialism is a heresy. So there you go. Fits right in with the Francis Church. In a recently surfaced video clip, he said, for the World Youth Day, "Enjoy being with each other, and in the end, we join hands and said, I think differently, I feel differently, I organize my life differently. We are brothers and we are going to build the future together. This is the main message of the encounter with the living Christ that the Pope wants to offer young people. We don't want to convert people to Christ or to the Catholic Church or anything like that. Absolutely. So he doesn't want to convert people to the church. Again, where do you find these people? How do you find so many heretics? Seriously. He will have raised the voting members of the College of Cardinals to the number of 138. The limit of 120 was established by Paul VI. So it's disgusting. The Francis Church, it's bad. I was from the Joan of Arc diocese. They would say an Our Father one week, and then the following week they'd change it to Our Mother. There you go. Horrible heretics. Archbishop Neinstadt tried to clean up the alphabet groups, and then I believe was framed by them. I think I'm not so sure. I don't know. I thought he was doing inappropriate things with seminarians, but I don't know. We don't really know. Anyway, conclave. Okay. I don't expect a busy week like this until a papal conclave. I'm disappointed my internet keeps cutting out. So this will be it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, we are the laity, and we will not be silent.